Hey everyone, I just wanted to reach out, and I know we're hitting week 6 or the end of week 6, and most of you all, I know some of you all may have already started writing your paper, some of you all are in the process of getting started. I know I used week 5 as kind of a jumping off point to kind of for you all to kind of get your ideas going about what you're going to be focusing your paper on. So I just want to take a minute to go over again what the structure of your paper would look like. So essentially, you need to think about your paper as a 3-part paper. In the first part, you're going to be using a theory or strategy that we've gone over in this course. So it can be from the Denning book, it can be from the Lee book, it can be from any of the articles that we've covered that were in the syllabus, or it can even come from the Griffin book that I put up online that has a bunch of communication theories on it. Now, what you can do then, because I know in the discussion board, a few of you all have mentioned other texts from either previous courses or just some things you've kind of picked up along the way. You can use that as supplemental resources to kind of like link some ideas together. But the main focus of that first paper is just the theory or the strategy, and it needs to come from something in class. So I've seen some students that want to combine kind of the narrative intelligence storytelling aspect from Denning and link it up with transformational leadership. You can absolutely do that because you're getting that primary aspect of storytelling from Denning's and linking it up with transformational leadership. So that's what you're doing for part 1 of your paper, and that's the only thing you should be discussing in the first part of your paper, which should be about, 2 to 3 pages, something along those lines. Then in the second part of your paper, all you're talking about is your text or artifact, and it's really just like a fancy academic way of talking about like the subject or the thing that you're going to be discussing. So in the example I have, or in the sample paper that I put up online, my first part of my paper is on social judgment theory. The second part of my paper is about this band that I liked and the documentary about that band. So if you look at that paper and look at the second part of that paper, I am only talking about the band for like 2 or 3 pages, and at the very end I mentioned that they made a documentary about them creating one of their albums. So if you look at it, essentially, if you get rid of the first part of the paper and the third part of the paper, that second paper just reads like a biography about that subject or that text or that artifact. Then in the third part of my paper, I take some examples from that documentary and I kind of give a little bit of a brief explanation about what provide some context of like what's going on. And then from there, what I can do is bring some elements of social judgment theory and explain why some of the conflict happened, or explain why I think some of the conflict could have been improved or avoided if they had brought in some of these ideas from social judgment theory. But that's the structure of your paper. You're getting the theory or the strategy from the first from the course materials. In the second part, you identify what that thing is that you're going to be applying it to. I've seen some folks say they want to use a movie or a TV show. Some folks say they want to use their own kind of personal experience, which I allow. In that case, I've suggested that for the part 2 of your paper, you should use that as like a little mini biography, kind of explaining where you're coming from and kind of set the scene for the reader. Because essentially when you're writing these papers, any academic paper, you're assuming the reader has no idea what you're talking about. So that's why you have to go over in depth with the theory and the strategy in the first part, and then explain the text and the artifact in the second part. And then in the third part is where you kind of merge everything together and you're applying the theory or the strategy to that text or the artifact, whatever you want to call it, in that third part of the paper. So then from there, if you've written 2 to 3 pages for part 1 and 2 to 3 pages for part 2 and then 2 to 3 pages for part 3, once you're done with that, all you have to do is essentially write your intro, your conclusion, and some transitional sentences in between those 3 papers, and that'll be your final paper. So I wanted to come on here and explain that to you all in case that wasn't clear. The thing I did to try to help everybody is I recently, tonight actually, just put up a folder in Blackboard, and each student I downloaded and researched an article for you all that I think should at the very least help get you jump started in the research process. Now, I did that based on your discussion post from week 5. So if some of you all were a little bit kind of vague in what you were going for, I try to find something that best kind of addressed what you were going to be focusing on. If there wasn't anything specific enough, I try to find something at the very least could be beneficial for you all. Now, one thing to keep in mind with these academic articles, there are some academics, a lot of academics out there who love to hear themselves talk via their text and really want to show how intelligent they are with how they're writing. And it can get really annoying and sometimes get a little boring to read. So my suggestion when you're going through some of these articles, if you're struggling through them, because I struggle through some of these as well, is to look for kind of like the big sections that'll really jump out to you. So read the abstract, read the introduction, because usually they kind of outline everything for you there. There should be, in some of these, there's going to be like a results section and then go to the conclusion. You really don't need like the middle portion of these papers. Really, you're using these articles to kind of support what you're already arguing about. So it's good to just get to the conclusion, see what they used, and then apply that to your paper. I also included additional articles. So even for some of the students that aren't in the class, whether it's from like previous courses or other courses I'm teaching right now, I try to include something more for you all. That way it could be helpful for you. And lastly, I just want to remind you all that I am available for whatever you need. So I know some folks feel hesitant to either like email me or to show up during my office hours. I still show up every day, or not every day, but on Wednesdays and Thursdays. My Skype information is available on the syllabus. And you also have my phone number. So please don't hesitate to reach out and call me, or set up a time if you want to email me and set up a time to get on Zoom or Skype or whatever is more convenient for you all. But I want to make sure that you all are clear on what you need to be doing. But also, if you're just feeling confused, you can just let me know and we can figure things out. Overall, I've been really happy in terms of the discussion forums. And I am not lying when I say that in terms of like the leadership demonstrations, this block by far has been one of the most impressive sets of leadership demonstrations I've seen. So more than anything, I just want to end by commending you all for being able to stay on top of this course, given all the chaos that's kind of going around all of us at this moment. So I just want to say I really do appreciate you all putting in that effort. And I just want to remind you all again that I'm here for whatever you need. So I'm hoping those articles help you. If you have any further questions about the paper or anything like that, please let me know. And I will say that there were a handful of students that I needed some clarity on your final paper, so I didn't upload an article, but I did email you. So if you don't see an article on Blackboard that helped, you should have an email at your UTEP email from me, so I can get some clarity and then I can send you an article. But other than that, I hope you all are doing well. I hope you or your family and your friends are doing well. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.